The early morning sun cast long shadows on the dusty road as John Adams stepped off the bus in his small hometown. Dressed in his military uniform, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and nervous excitement. He'd been away for over a year, serving overseas, and the thought of finally seeing his family again filled him with an overwhelming sense of urgency. John had planned his return to be a surprise, hoping to catch a joyful moment of unguarded reunion. John grew up in this quiet, picturesque town where every street corner and every old oak tree held memories of his youth. As he walked through the familiar streets, he felt a strange blend of being both a stranger and a returning hero. The town seemed unchanged, peaceful, and inviting, yet John couldn't shake off a subtle unease about returning unannounced. He thought about his wife, Emily, and how she'd react to seeing him. Would she be happy, shocked, or upset that he hadn't warned her? Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. While John was away, Emily and his best friend Mike had sent him letters and care packages, their words a lifeline in tough times. They'd been his support system from thousands of miles away, and the thought of seeing them both brought a smile to his face. In his letters, Mike had often mentioned how he and Emily spent time together, helping each other cope with John's absence. This camaraderie comforted John, knowing that his two most loved ones were there for each other. As John approached the house, something felt off. It was a weekday afternoon, yet there were several cars parked outside, more than would be usual for this time of day. The quiet hum of conversation and laughter floated from the backyard to the front where John stood, his surprise turning to confusion. This was not the quiet homecoming he had imagined. With each step closer to the front door, his pace slowed, his initial excitement giving way to a creeping sense of doubt about the scene he was about to enter. Inside, the house was alive with sounds. Voices filled the rooms, a stark contrast to the solitude John had imagined he would find. He moved silently, unnoticed, his military boots soft against the wooden floors. His heart, which had been full of joy moments before, now hammered with a different intensity as he navigated the corridors of his own home like an intruder. He was close to the living room now, the voices clearer, the laughter louder, and a peculiar feeling settled in the pit of his stomach. What would he find when he finally saw Emily and Mike? The question echoed in his mind as he reached for the living room door, his hand hesitating on the knob. John turned the knob slowly, the door creaking slightly as he peeked inside. His eyes scanned the room before they found Emily and Mike, their backs to him, engrossed in their conversation. For a moment, he just stood there, watching them, a mix of emotions swirling inside him. His plan to surprise them had now turned into his own surprise, his presence unnoticed. He took a deep breath, steadying his nerves, and stepped quietly into the room, his boots barely making a sound on the soft carpet. The room was filled with more people than John had anticipated. Friends and neighbors chatting animatedly, holding drinks, their laughter filling the air. The atmosphere was festive, a stark contrast to the quiet reunion John had imagined on his long journey home. As he moved further into the room, a small pang of disappointment tugged at him. He had hoped for a quiet moment alone with Emily first, to take in her reaction, to hold her. Emily suddenly turned, her eyes catching John's figure by the doorway. The room seemed to fall silent in slow motion as her face registered shock, joy, and then a wide, beaming smile. She rushed toward him, her arms thrown open. "John!" she exclaimed, her voice a mixture of laughter and tears. The reunion was warm, her embrace tight, and for a moment, John forgot the oddity of his arrival. Mike joined in, clapping John on the back with a hearty laugh. "You should have seen your face." As they pulled away from the hugs, John's eyes swept over the crowd, his initial joy tinged with a residue of the unease he felt earlier. He tried to shake the feeling as he exchanged greetings and handshakes with friends he hadn't seen in months. But underneath the warm welcomes and familiar faces, John couldn't help but feel like an outsider in his own home, catching up on months of missed experiences and shared memories that he had no part in. While mingling, John kept a close eye on Emily and Mike as they interacted with guests. Their ease with each other, the inside jokes, the shared glances, it all seemed natural but sparked a small flame of doubt in John's mind. Was he just being paranoid or had something changed in his absence? he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing a piece of a puzzle everyone else seemed to understand. The evening wound down with friends starting to make their way out, leaving John, Emily, and Mike in a quieter setting. As John helped Emily clear up some dishes, he overheard fragments of a conversation between Mike and another guest. Words like secret and surprise piqued his curiosity. His head turned slightly, straining to catch more, but the guest noticed his interest and quickly changed the subject. The seed of doubt planted earlier began to grow, wrapping its tendrils tighter around John's thoughts. What was being kept from him, and why? As John turned from the conversation he had overheard, Emily approached him with a smile that lit up the room. "Surprise!" she exclaimed, her arms wide as if to show off the scene before him. "We thought you were coming next week, but when we heard you might be getting in early, we just had to throw together a little welcome party." The room, now quieter with fewer guests, felt suddenly charged with a new energy as everyone cheered and raised their glasses to John. John's initial shock gave way to a rush of relief and a surge of affection for Emily and the effort she'd put into this surprise. As he looked around, his heart warmed at the sight of familiar faces, all here for him. He tried to let go of his earlier suspicions and immerse himself in the love and camaraderie filling the room, yet beneath his smiles and laughter, a part of him remained alert, his senses tuned to the undercurrents flowing beneath the surface. Throughout the party, John found himself drawn into deeper conversations with old friends, each expressing genuine happiness at his safe return. Mike, hovering close, made sure John was never without a drink or company, sharing stories of the town and updates on what had happened while John was away. Their friendship, seemingly unaltered, provided a semblance of normalcy that John clung to amidst the swirling doubts. As the evening progressed, John noticed Emily and Mike exchanging glances and stepping away for brief, hushed conversations. Each whispered word and secretive smile seemed innocuous, but to John, each one was a puzzle piece adding to a picture he couldn't quite see. Why the secrecy, if the party was the only surprise? His mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. The night ended with guests departing under the glow of the porch lights, leaving John, Emily, and Mike in the soft after-party calm. As they began cleaning up, John's mind replayed the evening's events, searching for clues in the remnants of the party. It was then that he overheard a snippet of Emily's conversation with Mike, something about making sure he didn't find out until the right time. The words struck a chord, and his previous unease solidified into a resolve to uncover whatever secret was being kept from him. What were Emily and Mike planning, and why did it feel like it involved him directly, yet was kept so carefully hidden? His determination grew, fueled by the fragments of overheard conversations and secretive exchanges. The night may have ended, but John's quest for answers was just beginning. The morning after the party, John woke up with the remnants of last night's conversations echoing in his mind. The house was quiet, with Emily and Mike presumably still asleep. John sat at the kitchen table, a mug of coffee in hand, lost in thought. The fragments of overheard dialogue from the night before were like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, urging him to find out what was being hidden from him. With a resolve hardened by the unsettling feeling of being kept in the dark, he decided that today would be the day he would confront Mike and demand answers. John found Mike in the backyard, tinkering with a motorcycle that they had once spent weekends fixing up together. The morning sun cast long shadows on the ground as John approached, his footsteps firm and deliberate. "Mike," John began, his voice steady but filled with an undeniable tension. "We need to talk." Mike looked up, wiping his hands on a rag, his expression shifting to one of apprehension. "Sure, John, what's on your mind?" John didn't miss the slight wariness in Mike's tone. Without mincing words, John confronted Mike about the secretive conversations and the uneasy feelings they had stirred in him. "I heard you and Emily last night. What are you keeping from me?" Mike sighed, his shoulders sagging slightly as if a weight had been pressing down on him. After a moment's hesitation, Mike began to explain, his words slow and measured. "John, there's been a lot going on while you were away. It's not what you think." Mike revealed that during John's deployment, the community had started a project to support local veterans, a cause close to John's heart. Emily, with Mike's help, had spearheaded the initiative to secure funding and organize the program. They planned to surprise John with the leadership of this project upon his return, wanting it to be a testament to his service and a way for him to continue contributing to the community. Mike emphasized that keeping it a secret had been hard but necessary, as they wanted to ensure everything was approved and in place before revealing it to John. John listened, the tension in his body gradually easing as the pieces came together. He felt a mix of emotions: relief, pride, and a lingering sense of foolishness for doubting their intentions. Mike clapped a hand on John's shoulder, his smile genuine. "We just wanted to give you something meaningful to come back to, something that would make a difference." With newfound understanding, John reflected on his earlier suspicions, realizing how easily misinterpretations could cloud judgment. The truth had been hidden not out of deceit, but out of a desire to surprise him with something truly special. As he absorbed Mike's words, John felt a rush of gratitude and humility, grateful for having such thoughtful friends and a supportive community. With the morning sun climbing higher in the sky, John returned inside, the weight of unresolved tension somewhat lifted. Yet despite Mike's explanations, there remained a nagging piece of the puzzle regarding Emily's part in all this. John decided it was time to hear everything directly from her. He found her in the kitchen, her back to him as she organized the remnants of last night's celebration. The room was filled with the smell of coffee and the quiet hum of the refrigerator. "Emily," John started, his tone more curious than accusatory, "Mike told me about the Veterans Project, but there's something else, isn't there? Something about a phone call yesterday?" Emily turned around, surprise flickering across her face before setting into a gentle, understanding smile. She nodded, taking a deep breath as she prepared to reveal her part of the surprise that had been kept from John. Emily explained that she had been in touch with a major charity organization that supported veterans and their families. Recently, she had successfully secured a significant grant for the Veterans Project. This achievement was something Emily had wanted to keep under wraps until John's return, hoping to share the news personally as a testament to her commitment not only to the community, but to him as well. John listened intently, his initial feelings of betrayal giving way to admiration and love for Emily's dedication and secrecy. The realization that the secret conversations, the mysterious phone call, were all part of a larger benevolent plan filled him with a sense of warmth. Emily reached out, taking his hands in hers, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief and happiness that the secret was finally out. As they stood in their kitchen, the heart of their home, John expressed how the secrecy had made him feel excluded and slightly betrayed, even if unintentionally. Emily's expression softened, her apology sincere as she explained her perspective, hoping he would understand the reasons behind her decisions. It was a heartfelt moment of vulnerability and honesty between them. Reaffirmed by their conversation, John and Emily agreed to move forward with clearer communication and trust. They embraced, the tension that had clouded John's homecoming finally dissipating. This conversation was a turning point, reaffirming their relationship's strength and resilience. As they pulled apart, a shared look of understanding passed between them, a silent promise of renewed trust and deeper connections. The following week, the entire community gathered at the local community center, a place that had become a second home to many veterans in the town. John and Emily arrived together, hand in hand, with John still unaware of the full extent of the surprise awaiting him. The air was filled with a buzz of excitement as neighbors and friends greeted them warmly. The community center decorated with banners and American flags, creating a festive atmosphere. As they made their way through the crowd, John noticed a large covered display at the front of the hall. Curiosity piqued, he exchanged a questioning look with Emily, who simply smiled and squeezed his hand, guiding him forward. The murmurs in the room grew louder as the town's mayor stepped up to the podium, calling the gathering to attention. The room fell silent, all eyes on John. The mayor began to speak, recounting John's service and dedication to the country. He spoke of the community's gratitude and how John's courage had inspired them all. Then, with a grand gesture, he unveiled the covered display, a plaque announcing the establishment of a new veteran support network, the John Adams Veterans Resource Center, designed to support returning soldiers with counseling, job training, and community integration. John was overwhelmed, tears welling up in his eyes as the room erupted into applause. He looked around at the faces of his friends, his family, and his fellow veterans, feeling a deep connection to each person there. Emily stood by his side, her face radiant with pride. Mike clapped him on the back, a broad grin on his face. "Surprised, aren't you?" He chuckled. John could only nod, speechless, his heart full. In his impromptu thank you speech, John expressed his gratitude and humility. He spoke about the importance of community and support, and how honored he felt to lead such a meaningful initiative. The support from his wife and best friend, the secrecy, the mysterious arrangements, all made sense now, culminating in this moment of joy and purpose. The event concluded with a reception where John mingled with attendees, discussing plans for the new center and how they could contribute. The community's enthusiasm was palpable, with many expressing eagerness to participate and help. John, Emily, and Mike stood together, observing the fruits of their secret planning. They shared a quiet moment of reflection, proud of what they had accomplished and excited for the future. As the sun set, the event wound down, leaving John, Emily, and Mike to close the evening. They walked back to their car, their steps light, their spirits high. This day, marked by revelations and confirmations, had not only cleared any shadows of doubt, but it also strengthened the bonds of their relationships, both with each other and with their community. John looked at Emily, his smile saying everything his words couldn't. A silent acknowledgement of their shared journey and the new paths they would explore together. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below, and make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.